snow. And when they looked at them, they realised that each one was 32 inches in length and 15 inches in width. And they came to the conclusion that they possibly belonged to the legendary Yeti. And we know it in the West as the abominable snowman.
The Indian Army not prone to throw out such sensationalistic material, so that caught a lot of people off guard. And you look at these prints and you start to ask the question, how big a creature would create them?
Curiously, this isn't the first time that massive bipedal footprints have been found in the vicinity of Mount Everest. In 1951, British mountaineer Eric Shipton captured a photo of what appeared to be a giant footprint with an ape-like thumb instead of a big toe.
One thing that supports the credibility of all these sightings is that so many people have described the same thing. There has been numerous footprints that have been cast and observed and photographed over the years. And this just corroborates the different witness sightings to suggest that something is still out there.
The idea that massive creatures like the Yeti are living in the wild might sound far-fetched to some, but there have been many similar accounts of strange bipedal animals throughout history. For instance, there's a particular species that was believed to inhabit North America and would only come out at night.
I have a story for you. Sound? I've talked about this before. Girl, beautiful soul, extremely blessed to have her. I'm gonna say it was 2018. Well, my ex and I were, disagreeing on stuff and whatever, So whatever, but so I had moved out into I think it's around the same time she had her nephew come up, and I don't know, it's all just kind of like messed up, But anyways, so we went, and her daughters, of course. Can't forget that. But so I moved out, and I was working at a place in West Sacramento, and so I rented a place like in Davis, right? So before, I think it's around the time that we were having an issue, I'm like, oh, screw it, and Honey was back there with her. I'm trying to remember if that was before Honey. I don't know, all the ECTs kind of fuck shit up. But so anyways, it was just myself, and I hiked to the top of this place called Horsedale Falls, up in it's Union Valley area up there by Placerville, in between Placerville and Tahoe, Pollock Pines area. And I had the vehicle we have now, a RAV, and so I was like, well, screw it, I'm gonna. So I parked at the bottom of the Ice House Road, and I hiked all the way up. But before I didn't have a pen to write. I wrote like out of gas so I wouldn't get a ticket, So but I didn't have a pen, so I wrote it in Taco Bell sauce. So I went up there, and granted, I wasn't preparing to make this journey. I just brought normal stuff, So anyways, I had a power pack thing, but that I still have it. It doesn't work that good. But I have my phone, and so I hiked all the way top the Horsedale Falls, right? I've done that hike before back in '94. Hiked all the way through Desolation Wilderness and all that into Tahoe, like 3 days. And so I was like, I get to the top, I see this dude up there. I go, my camera's dead. I go, hey, can you take a picture of me and then send it to me later on? Because I didn't have any more charge in my camera, right, my phone. And so I was like, okay, well, I told him, I go, all right, see you later, man. He's all, where you going? I go, I'm going that way. He goes, yeah, but there's a bunch of snow that way. I go, yeah, I hiked this, it's fine. I know where I'm going. So, but I'm going off of pre-bipolar mania. Just, when you have an argument, you just got to get out. And I did. And so anyways, started hiking waist deep snow. I had like a backpack, I had my beanie, I had a sweatshirt, a hoodie, I think. I had, like a plastic bag. I had a little bit of water left, not much, but there was snow. I'm like, it's snow. Like, just eat it. I'm just not thinking right. I know this is not good. So I'm hiking and just keep on going. And you can't see the trail, right? Because it's all covered with snow. It all looks the same. So, but I'm like, I'll make it, So I keep hiking and, pure adrenaline. And my feet are getting frozen. I'm getting the sensations, in my feet, like it's not good. And so I just getting tired. And so as I'm going, I hear these branches breaking behind me, right, of something like tracking me. And I'm like, that's, I don't know. What is that? And so I'm just like, keep going, I'm not going to like turn around and like go confront it, whatever it is. So, but if it's a bear, they usually hibernate during the winter unless it's hungry, or if it's something else, So I just go ahead and keep going. And I'm just so exhausted and my feet are hurting so bad. Started getting that like burning sensation because of the frostbite. So I sit down and I was like, I got to take off my boots and my socks. So I did that. And then I had my beanie. So I took my beanie off my head. I put my feet in my beanie. I put a plastic bag over the beanie and my feet, and then I buried my feet in rocks because rocks will retain some kind of heat. And then I passed out, and then I woke up, and of course I wasn't eating. I was still alive, and I was just like, okay. So I was like, shit, So I put my wet socks back on and my boots, and I just keep on going, and I just kept on going and going and going, right? And so eventually I come upon this. Then daylight starts coming around. I come upon this cabin and in the woods, and I think it's like an old forestry cabin. And so a fucking dog keeps barking out there, a little chihuahua. So it's like it's probably just like their whoever's with it, extension of the whatever. So I basically take my shoes off again and my boots off and my socks and and this whole time, I had like put snow in my just a regular disposable bottle, and then I just pushed it down by the down under so it would melt. And I was so dehydrated and stuff. I just wasn't thinking. I would have done this normally, but it's just because we were having an argument getting along. So, anyways, long story short, I eventually made it out. But then 2 years after, I still had lost because of how frozen my feet got. And they made them super sensitive, and they're still sensitive. But I didn't lose any parts of my feet, which luckily, But I knew enough to have the survival skills kick in, and with what I didn't have. But I just knew that I needed to make it back because nobody would know that I was out there, Eventually they would find me. But so I was just like, I think I've always kind of had that, ever since I was born, it was like, to survive, and especially with the childhood shit and all that. And now Honey Girl and I, so I look back and I go, I made it through that shit. But I'm like, what the fuck was tracking me, And whatever it was, this is what I believe right here. So Honey Girl and I, when we go hiking, we leave no trace, we respect, Mother Nature, right? And it'll respect you. And I think that's the thing, because I've always respected everywhere I've been, hiking, with Honey Girl, just by myself. And I think it was maybe watching over me, That's how I look at it, because if not, I would have been eaten. Because I fell asleep, and the Punisher doesn't take naps, and I took a wee bit of one. So that's just a story, and I'm sticking to it. But that's a true story, and yeah, it was pretty crazy. I want to go back up there, take Honey Girl back up there again, and just kind of go check out the area when there's no snow. That sounds like a better idea.